October 22nd, 2021, we're interviewing Lillian Shust. Lillian, just give us a little bit of background, your children's names and husband, and
Okay. Well, I'm Lillian Shust, and Steve and I, Stephen Shust Jr. We're both from the Lane. We were married in 1956. We have 4 children: Gregory, Daria, Nicholas, and Catherine. Daria has 2 sons, Alan Christopher Endler, Andrew James Endler, and now we have a great-grandson,
wow,
Malcolm Stephen Endler. And he was born August 12th, 2021, and he's only 3 months old, but he would have been the love of Steve's life.
Yeah.
I was a Yurda. My father was Michael Yurda. My mother was Helen Widiak, both from the Lane. They were married in 1932, and my father passed away in 1968, December 24th. My mother, Helen Widiak Yurda, passed away March 31st, 1978. I feel blessed because there is longevity on my father's side of the family. I was always told my great-grandmother, my father's mother's mother, Yefrozinia Rose Skavron, was 105 when she passed away.
Wow.
I knew her. I grew up with her. At the time, at one time in my life, we had to move to Scranton because my father worked for the O&W Railroad. And he was promoted to supervisor. Henceforth, he had to go where his job took him.
Mm-hmm.
In the early 1940s, not too many people had automobiles, so we had to move to Scranton. We spent 4 years in Scranton. That was 4 years I did not attend the German schools.
So your grandparents, now, you mentioned your great-grandmother, but how about your grandfather?
My great-grandfather, I never knew him.
Okay.
He passed away before I was born.
Okay, how about your grandfather and grandmother?
My grandfather and my grandmother, Catherine Skavron Yurda. She was the only child of Rose and Andrew Skavron. My grandmother married Adam Yurda, and Adam and Catherine had 6 sons and a daughter. There are, from what I have gathered over the years, there are a lot of descendants from Catherine and Adam.
Yeah, I knew some Yurdas. There was a Yurda that went to school with my brother. Graduated from Lakeland in 1969. I think it was Nick Yurda. I don't know if they'd be related or not, but more than likely.
There are Yurdas up around Champlain Lake. and they are not any relatives
that's
of ours.
probably what-
The
okay.
other Yurdas, the Yurdas that are related to us, they live up around Finch Hill. But none of them had sons.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well-
and the other Yurda relatives live up at Herrick Center. And there is one left, Michael. His name is Michael Yurda from Herrick Center.
To talk a little bit about the Widiaks and the Yurdas and the service. What relatives did you have, and what that you can remember were in World War I or World War II?
Okay, no one in the Yurda family that I know. Oh, the only one, yes, in the Yurda family in World War I was one of the Yurdas. Oh my gosh, and I will not remember his name now.
Okay, well, as long as we know there was one, we can research it.
Yeah, in fact, his daughter still lives up there, Eileen Dance. Can't remember what her father's name was now.
World War II, I know you said the
World
four
War
Widiaks.
II, my grandmother and grandfather, I understand from genealogy that my daughter Daria did on all of the families. I always thought that my grandfather, Mitra Widiak, and my grandmother, Anna Lasichak Widiak, I was always under the impression that they came to the United States as a married couple. But from what Daria has learned through genealogy, my grandmother came 3 years later, and they were married here in the United States, and this would have been in the probably 1880s somewhere. They had 18 children.
Wow.
Oh.
6 of those babies passed away. One boy, his name was Paul, I understand. He lived to be 2 years old, and I don't know what he died from. But he was in the middle of the clan.
It's amazing.
During no one in the Widiak family that I know of that served in World War I. But in World War II, 4 of the Widiak sons served. John, William, Nicholas, and Joseph.
You said are you related to the Lasichaks?
My grandmother was a Lasichak, yes.
Then you probably know about the boy who got struck by lightning, Lasichak?
I vaguely, I mean, if
1930.
someone, repeated it to me, I'd say, oh, I remember hearing that when I was
My dad
growing
owned
up.
A ball game there, and they ran underneath the tree, and there was a fence. The lightning hit the fence, and he was leaning on it, and it killed him. Lasichak.
Okay. Yeah, but we were very close to the Lasichaks that lived on Delaware Street.
So you were born here in German then?
I was born in Nebraska section.
In the Nebraska section.
In the Nebraska
So she's an
section.
import. So you were born in the Nebraska section, okay.
Yes.
And you went to school in German high school, German grade school?
I started in, and I must tell this story. I started in Archbold. We lived in Tchaikovsky's house on Hudson Street.
Okay.
And I used to play in the ditch. And the two teachers that used to take the bus to German to walk up to the school in Nebraska, always passed by, and they'd see me sitting in the ditch playing. And the one day, the one teacher stopped and talked to my mother and said, "Why isn't Lillian in school?" And my mother told them that I was born in March, so I was too late for the grade. I had to wait. And the teachers told my mother to send me to school, and they will put me in a class. They put me in second grade.
So you went to the old school that
I
was
went to
over
the
in
old
East German,
school,
where the
yes.
dress factory was
Yes.
on that little mound up there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I went there for a year.
Okay.
I started there. They put me in second grade. And then the house, Tchaikovsky's house, was too small. My mother had her third child. So we moved to Lisichak's house on the left side of the house. And we lived there for a couple of years before we moved to Scranton. And that was when I started. I was in second grade when I came to German.
So you were in second grade over here, and then came
And then
back to second grade.
and came to German and was in second grade. Miss Muldoon was my
Muldoon, she
teacher.
was my teacher too. Yeah.
She
was here a long time.
It was Lechmonic, not Lisichak, Lechmonic.
Lechmonic.
Yes,
Lechmonic.
it got hit by the light nail. Lechmonic,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, but they were related to the Lisichaks,
Oh, were
I
they?
think.
Okay.
I think
So
so.
you went to school right across the street
Yes,
from where
I
you were
did.
living here. Was the high school here then when you were here before, or did that burn before? No,
The old high
the
school?
old high school,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, that was still here.
That
then.
was still here. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you went to grade school, and there was 3 buildings when you were there.
Yes, and
And they were all
during
here.
World War II, I remember we used to do air raid drills. And we used to go down the steps in the main building and go through a
Through the
tunnel
Yep.
to the other side, to the other building,
Yeah.
and stay there until they gave the all clear, and then we'd all march back
Yeah,
to
I
our
used-
classroom.
I used to go down and clean the erasers, and then I'd run through that, sneak through that tunnel to find out where it went.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. And when I was in the 4th grade, that was when we moved to Scranton.
So you went second, third, and then fourth
And
grade.
has
You
a
moved to
part of
Scranton.
4th, and then we
Who
moved
was your
to
teacher in third grade? You had Miss Muldoon.
Bennett. She was a Bennett, and then when she married, she was a Taylor,
Taylor. Okay.
Mrs. Taylor,
So you had Miss Muldoon.
and Miss Bennett, and AKA Mrs. Taylor.
Miss Bennett. And then her name was
And then-
Taylor after she got married.
And in 4th grade, I had Florence Dunn.
Well, Dynamite Dunn. I had Florence Dynamite Dunn too.
I think everybody had her.
How old was he? Was she when you had her, Bruce?
How old? Well, she had to be in her 60s when I had her. I don't know how old she was when you were there.
Well, she was young.
she had
That
to
was
be
in the
40s.
40s.
She was probably 40 something then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did she have the same beehive hairdo that back then? That
she
did?
probably did. And we lived in Scranton in 2 different places. I don't know why they moved. Oh, I know why we moved. The first place was we were on the 2nd floor on Bundy Street.
We were just on Bundy Street today.
Were you really?
We were doing a historical scavenger hunt, and we had to go to Bundy Street to find a clue. So we were down on Bundy Street.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's right. I never heard that before
Passed
down
by your
there.
house, didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you know where that restaurant is there on Bundy Street?
There was one. Yeah. We
I
went
think
by
it's still open. Well, heading towards towards Kaiser Avenue,
Uh-huh.
if you walked maybe a block up, it was a 2-story house right on the
Okay.
corner.
Yeah. The new Islamic Center is there. That's where we had to go. It's just Bundy Street is this way, and the Islamic Center there was a big power line that went through there,
Okay.
and we had to go there and take a picture of the Islamic Center today.
Oh, okay.
So I went right down Bundy Street.
I probably wouldn't even recognize the area.
Oh no,
now,
it's
'cause-
probably changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was when I was a Red Hatter. Our group went down to that restaurant a few times
okay.
for lunch. So
So then you came back here to school.
so then we came back here. I was in the 8th grade, And in the 8th grade, that was when they had started, instead of having one teacher do all of the courses, there were different teachers that came.
Specialized in a different subject.
Yes,
Yeah. And that
in
was
and
here
out
in
of,
the
and that was here in
in
this
the high
building.
school that was directly across. Okay.
Yes. No, we've never had classes in that section.
Okay.
No.
Because that was the high school section. The grade
But-
school section
Right,
was the other one.
but by the time I was ready for high school, the high school was built,
Oh, the new one in 36.
the new one on Jefferson Avenue.
Okay.
So that's where I went to high school.
Was the high school burnt down by then or gone?
No, that building was there for quite a number of years after we even moved into this
Oh
house.
no! I'm talking about. See, there was a grade school on the corner.
Yes.
There was another building behind
Another
it,
section.
and then where the playground is, where we played basketball,
Right.
was the high school.
Yes, I know that.
But I don't remember that when I was a kid. I don't
Don't
remember
you?
it being there.
Sure. Oh God, Bruce, you have to remember. I used to watch my kids through the front window. They'd be sitting on the steps over there.
We sat on the steps on the other building, but not on the where the playground, where the basketball court was. There was no building there when I was a kid.
No.
No, that was gone already.
Okay. Okay.
They might have sat on the steps on the new addition on the back part of the old grade school.
Okay.
But the high school building was separate, and that burned down long before I was born. I guess.
All right.
So you went to the new school in German. It was built in '36.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to 8th grade over there?
No.
In the brick building?
No, I went to 8th grade over here,
Okay.
and then 9th grade
Okay.
down at the new high school.
All right. And then what year did you graduate from over there?
1950, and I took the commercial course, and in my senior year, I was R.J. Truscott's secretary.
Oh. Okay.
I used to go to the office during classes and help with whatever had to be done in the office.
Do you remember anything about the sports teams? Did they have good sports teams, or were they just mediocre? And
I really was not a sports person, so no, I couldn't tell you anything about their sports
I figured
teams.
with the brand new building over there would be a lot of people in the gym for the basketball and stuff.
Basketball, yes, I did go to basketball games, yes, and when they had these little leagues up and down the valley, and Shinny Lasichak had a truck, and we used to all pile on the back of Shinny's truck. And now I'm going back, I'm going all over the place here. But I remember the one time the game was up in Uniondale, and Shinny took us all on his truck up to the game.
So where did you play as a kid? Where
did I
and
play?
what did you do? I mean, what did you guys do as
Well,
kids in German?
When we came back from Scranton, we lived next door to Elsby's drugstore.
Nelson and Myrtle.
Yes. Yeah, and on the other side was Emily, and it was Mrs. Dunn's sister. Oh my God, I remembered his name the other day, and now it escapes me. I don't remember what his name was, but we lived in Dunn's house for until 1949, and in 1949, my father was told somehow he got the information that my great-grandmother's house in Nebraska was being sold. The courts were selling it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I never saw my father scramble like he did that day, because there was somebody else that was interested in the house, and he said, nobody's going to get that house but me. And he did.
Is that still standing today?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, and the people that bought it after my mother passed away, their last name was Knight, Knight, and the only reason why I really remember that is because I worked at Dearborn Glass, not Dearborn Glass. When I worked at Votech in the 70s. And this couple came in, and there were times when I had to work the night to, take care of anybody that came in that was looking to go to school at night. And this couple came in, and their name was Knight, and when they gave me their address, I almost died because it was our old house.
Okay. Which house is that now over there?
Well, you know where the Krenitsky's Bakery was?
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No.
There's field now, that's gone now, it's just the field, right?
What, Krenitsky's?
Yeah.
No, the house is still
Is it
there.
really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I knew Pepper delivered stuff all the time in the van, but I never knew.
Yeah,
that.
his brother was the
I
baker.
knew they had a bakery, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
and that was...
Basil's still alive. I talked to him on Facebook.
Is he?
Yes, he's in New Jersey. We correspond on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my, and he's probably the only one left from the
I think he's
family.
90, I think he said he just had a birthday last month.
Should interview him.
Yeah, he would be in his 90s
Yeah.
because he
Yes.
was a year or two older than
We
me.
talk every other day on Facebook.
Well, why don't
Do
you do an
you?
interview over the phone? On it?
I'll go out there, what are you kidding?
Okay,
I'll drag you, we'll go out.
we'll go. Okay. So where
Okay.
where are we talking?
When
about?
you're going up the hill, all right, you have Cooches, and you're going up, and then
Hudson Street.
on Hudson
Yeah.
Street. And then you make the right-hand turn to where the old school used to be.
Okay.
Then there was an empty lot, and then right up at the middle of the hill, it was Krenitsky's house, and then our house, and then John Mark's house.
So you're going past the old school
This is
and
a-
then turning left again up was it Lackawanna?
I'm not going, no.
No?
You're not making the turn to go
Okay.
over there. You're going straight up Hudson Street. Okay?
Mhm.
So when you're past the turn to go to the
To the
old school,
Okay.
you're going up the hill as if you were going up to
Up to
St.
St.
Michael's
Michael's Cemetery,
Cemetery
yeah.
or up to Aylesworth.
Aylesworth.
So it would have been, Krenitsky's house would have been the first house because the first section was a field. There was no house there.
So the corner would have been a field, and then the
Yeah,
next
and
house
then
would have been
it's
Krenitsky's.
Krenitsky's, and the bakery was behind the house. And every morning, John was over there working like a dog.
Okay, well, that would have been in the Nebraska section, so it's
Yes,
not really German,
German,
but we'll
but-
keep it. They delivered to German all the time.
oh
Yeah.
my God, yes. And to get there, you had to go through German to
You had
get
go to German. There
there.
was no other way to get there. That
Yeah,
should have
well,
been
I
all,
always-
it should have been German.
Yeah, well, I used to often wonder, why do I have to go to Archibald to vote?
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand any of that when I was a teenager.
Yeah, that made no sense.
And our mail was always through the German post office.
Yeah.
It was always German.
All right, so let's get back to where do you play as a kid, and who you played with, and who
Where
you
did we
remember,
play?
and
We used to spend a lot of time on the field where St. Michael's Hall is. We used to spend
Yes.
a lot of time on it was a baseball field.
yeah.
And we spent a lot of time there, or on the corner of Hudson and is that Elm
Elm
Street?
Street?
Elm Street. We used to play hopscotch there. We used to play kick the can and hide,
And we played that. Yeah.
ring around the rosy. And then there was another game that we played. Oh, we used to walk the block from that corner up to St. Michael's Church, down to Delaware Street, up Delaware Street, over Elm, back. And our goal was spot a car with only one headlight burning.
A pediddler? They call it a pediddler?
Yeah. it was a-
Headlight, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Is that
That's
what they
call
called
those,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but it-
Really?
Pediddler, yeah.
Did you go swimming in the creeks?
We
or
used to go.
anything, or
Oh my God! We used to
up
every
we used
Sunday.
to call slips.
Yes, we did too. We called
Okay.
it slips, and that was our place to go swimming. Slippery rocks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Slippery rock.
Slippery rocks.
Did you ever go to Edgerton?
We used to walk up there every Sunday afternoon,
Really?
up to the dam.
Wow.
Yes, that was our Sunday.
Huh.
Every Sunday. My girlfriends and I, all the girls that I grew up with,
Pepper said people used to spread towels out and be laying on the
on the wall,
Yeah.
on the grass.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
who were the girls that you hung around?
Who were the girls
with
that I
then?
hung around with? The Crail girls, Catherine and Helen Crail,
Crails.
Krahl.
Yeah, I know Joe Crail.
Well, this would be his sisters. Franchocks, Dorothy and Gloria Franchock. Dorothy Gurka, who is married to Nick Urachak. Fanny Myshak. Tatiana Marmaluk. I'm trying to think who else was in our gang. Pigeons lived across the street, so Maggie Pigeon was, she rang in with us.
So that would have been Tom Pigeon's
Tom Pigeon's sister.
Okay.
Yes.
Probably related to Paul Pigeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be Paul's aunt.
Pa-
Right?
No, they would be sister and brother.
The Paul I'm thinking is probably my age or
Oh,
younger.
you're thinking of young Paul.
Young
He's
Paul,
thinking
yeah.
Tom Pigeon's son. That's who he's thinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
so it would have been an
because
aunt.
there
Yeah.
was a Paul
Yeah.
Pigeon also.
I only knew Jimmy and Tom.
Yeah, no, there was Paul. He was one of the older ones. I think he was in California for quite a number of years. And let me see what else did. Oh, marbles! Oh my God, we used to play with the big kumboolers.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I played marbles as a kid, yep.
And my friend Kay Crail, who I am still friends with, she lives in New Jersey. She was the best marble player going.
Really? Huh.
She was a Sharpie. Yes, she was. I'll have to remind her of that the next time I'm talking to her.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, But
So you went to
oh, and we used to go to the movies
How
in
much
our
did it
teenage
cost?
years.
Carbondale?
Yes,
What
we used
did
to
it
take
cost
the
for a
bus.
movie?
I don't remember what it cost in Carbondale, but when we used to go to German, it was 10 cents.
Huh, wow.
And there were special nights when they would give dishes out.
Wow.
So my mother would send me to the movies on those nights so I could get the dishes for her.
You mean like a plate with
Yeah,
the movie's
yeah.
name on it?
No, food.
Really?
For
Wow.
yes, it would be like by the time you collected them all, it would be a set because it was the same pattern.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they used to give dishes
10
out.
cent movies, huh?
10
Did you go to
cent
Mayfield to movies too, or
I occasionally, but
you'd have to
we
walk
had this
there?
one here in German.
Where was it at?
Where in German?
Yeah.
It's-
Right next to where the Windsor is.
Assembly Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did they have sound or?
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's not that old. Sound was invented by then.
Yes, it was.
Do you remember in Assembly Hall, somebody told me that there was a walkway around the hall upstairs?
I was never
You don't
in the
remember?
building.
You were never up in that hall
No.
part? Okay.
No,
All right.
no.
So what else as a kid? I mean, you went to Slips, you went to Hosey. Was the tunnel down where we used to go down in the tunnel?
I was never
Down
down
by
at
the-
the tunnel.
Okay.
No. Now my children, I know they used to go there.
Yeah.
If I wanted to find Gregory, that's where I'd go looking for him.
How about Chapman Lake or Hart Lake? Did you guys go up there? Or?
Yes. My Uncle Pat Peter Petorak, who married my mother's sister Olga, he used to take us to Champlain Lake all the time. I'm trying to think. My Uncle Aby Widiak, Andrew Aby, everybody had nicknames back then. Everybody. You never knew what their right name was. And if you said their right name, nobody knew who you were talking about.
Yep.
Did you have a nickname?
Not really, no. I can't say not really. I did by a few choice people, and they were, to them it was endearing, but it wasn't anything that stuck, that everybody used. No.
You remember, the first cars that you remember, like in your family, who owned cars?
First, my Uncle Aby Widiak, he owned a Chevrolet, and he was our transportation. When we lived in Scranton, we lived up in the High Works section. We used to walk down Theodore Street. No, we cut across, and we would go down Market Street, because that's where the train stopped. There was a little station at Market Street. Every Friday when we got home from school, my mother was ready. She had all of our clothes and whatever we needed in grocery bags, and we'd all carry a grocery bag, and we would walk down to the station and get on the train and come to German every weekend.
Now that's a train. Did they have any streetcars?
I don't remember the streetcars. I only remember the tracks being in the road.
Oh, okay. Wow.
You remember the tracks in German and me?
Yes.
In the road?
In the middle of the road?
Yes, I do. Yes. But I don't. They were gone already.
You said your father worked for the O&W in Mayfield.
Yes.
So that was when you moved back to German?
No, my father worked for the O&W all of my life.
Okay.
So I'm assuming he had that job when my mother and he were married in 1932.
Okay. You have any stories about any of the people working in the mines, and do you know any of the people that worked in the mines?
Oh yes, my grandfather, my Uncle Aby, my Uncle Hinky. His right name is Michael Widiak. The three of them, I remember them coming home, carbide lamps on their heads, and just reeking from the smell of the coal and the carbide. And they would stand on it. They had put an enclosed porch off the kitchen, and that's where they would stand and undress. And this would, when one year when we went down to see the mine exhibit in Scranton, and when I saw these little things like this, spaces,
monkey veins
and I said, oh my God, that's what my Uncle Aby used to work in, because he used to say on his belly he would be working.
Monkey vein, they call them, real small ones. You got to crawl. Knee pads on.
Yeah. But their clothes, when they took them off, they would stand up, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
Because from being so wet.
So wet, and they come
the
out
wet,
of there,
and then and the winter, everything is cold. They would just stand there, and and I could still smell the breakfast that my grandmother would make for them when they came home at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, because that was their dinner time.
Yeah, they worked at night.
Because they worked the night shift.
So you'll remember that. Then you remember the old breaker that was here in German?
Yes, I do.
Because I don't remember that.
I never went over to it, or through it or anything, but I do remember, seeing it there. But my grandmother used to make butts and potatoes for them. And that was their breakfast that would permeate through the house.
Were they 12-hour shifts?
I don't remember. I don't know. But it was, it was not a, it was hard labor.
Where did they go down into the mines? Over here where the breaker was over there? Is that where they went down into the mines, you know?
No. Maybe because now I remember the mound that used to be at the corner of Elm and Delaware Street where the cars used to come out of the mines and go, because I used to go with my grandfather to pick coal over there. On the slopes that came off it, and the coal would fall off the little carts and roll down over the slope, and my grandfather and I would.
Wow. Where's Elm Street? Past Bottlers up.
2 blocks up from
Blocks up,
Bottlers.
the next one up. So
Yeah.
it'll be up where at the end of Dearborn Glass. It'll be
Yes,
the
yeah,
next
that's
one.
Elm Street.
Yeah.
There was
So
an
right
opening
where
up
St.
there?
Michael's is.
There was an opening there.
Right where St. Michael's is. Between
Yes.
Dearborn and St. Michael's is probably where the opening came up.
Pepper told me. I think he said where Dearborn was. He said there used to be an opening there.
Well,
His
that's
father
probably
told
where-
me that.
That's where it was.
Yes.
Yes, there was an opening. I can picture it. It was set way back because then this mound, they had built up for the tracks to come up,
Yeah.
and
So then the cars would come up by Delaware Street there.
yes, yeah.
And do you remember them where they loaded the coal onto the trains or anything? Or
No.
no.
That I don't know. That
You remember
I don't.
the train station over East German?
Oh.
The D&H?
I sure do, because I rode that train every week coming over from
Coming over
Scranton.
Yeah.
What was it by Bottlers? That
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. It's
yes.
Up farther from Bottlers, right?
No, it was right across.
Directly across?
Well, no.
Just up a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Around where the La Pata Telep house is, and then the next house on the corner, which used to be my Coach's. My Coach's house was there. And then Mary Ann Yurda built her house there.
So yeah, it was up closer to the next corner, yeah.
But, oh, sure, I remember it.
so you
Yeah.
get on the train there to go down to Scranton.
Scranton,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
How long a ride was it from here to Scranton?
Probably about a half an hour.
Was it real? Wow.
Yeah, because it stopped
Yeah.
in Archibald, stopped in Oliphant, not Archibald, Winton.
Yeah.
Oliphant. Did it stop in Dixon?
How much was
I
it? Do you
don't-
remember? To ride
No.
to Scranton?
That was the old steam trains too, right?
Yes,
Was
yes,
it?
it was.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what I loved about riding in those cars, because the backs on the seats reversed. So when I'd get on, I'd say to my mother, "Mom, you sit over there because I'm going to push this seat." So I'm riding backwards because I always liked riding backwards on the train. I didn't want to see where I was going. I wanted to see where I'd been. But we were very familiar with all the conductors that worked on the trains. They knew us from the 4 years that we traveled back and forth by train.
Wow.
And then
Did
the
they
Owen.
pack the cars filled with people? Or?
I wouldn't say they were packed, that it was no room, but all the seats were filled. Oh yeah, a lot of people used the trains.
Because not many people had cars, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They
The
were-
O&W station was down at the bottom of Franklin Street in German. That was the other train station. There was two of them. There was the one that D&H was over in East German, and the O&W was down by where behind Miller Casket Company. Do you remember that one at all?
I only remember that it was there, that the station was
Yeah.
there.
You never rode the train that way going up.
I never rode on
Up towards
the
Mayfield
O&W
and
at
up to
all. My
Carbondale.
father did a lot of that, but I never did.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
No, the
everybody
O-
I talked to used the D&H. I haven't talked to anybody that was on the O&W rail.
The O&W had little shandies with a watchman,
To cross.
and there was
Yeah.
one on Delaware Street by the bridge,
Mhm.
and there was another one up just as you cross the German Mayfield line.
Up by
Up.
Murray's Crossing, it was.
Is that what they
They
called it?
Murray's Bar was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a slow-moving train, the O&W.
Well, they're both about
Because my
the same.
father said he used to
probably.
tie a rope around the outhouses and throw it on the train and pull the outhouses over. On the O&W.
Oh my God.
He did.
Yeah, that would have been
He
something.
said it was going slow, and he watched the outhouse go over.
Well, you know, they had to slow down when they were coming through to a road crossing.
Yeah.
So
Well, we have a picture of it. It was Mr. Callahan that was a crossing guard at one of them. I don't know if it was the one in East German or the one in Mayfield, but it must have been Rippy Callahan's father. Yeah.
could have been. Now the one in Mayfield, the only watchman that I ever remember that was up there was an Onufrak from Hudson Street. And I don't remember. I was trying to think. Pete. His
Pickles.
name was
Pickles
Peter.
is the only one I remember. Pickles on
Oh, Pickles Onufrak. Oh, I got to tell you a story about
he used
him.
to take care of St. Michael's Hall when I played basketball there.
How did he get a nickname?
I don't know.
Oh, nobody knows how any of them got
We
their
always called him
nicknames.
Pickles. I never knew his name. I just
Nope.
call him Pickles.
When we lived in Lasichaks, the prop yard was across the street from us. So there were all these logs piled up, you know, all the way back. And we, the children, we used to sneak over in the prop yard to get the bark off the ties. And at night, we would have a potato roast. But you were always on the lookout for the guards. So you don't get caught by the guards on their property. But Pickles Onufrak was the one that initiated these potato bakes. And he would get everything ready. He would, you know, tell us when, you know, we're going to do it tonight. And all the neighbors from Delaware Street and the kids would gather at this fire, and we'd put our potatoes in and have our potatoes, and Amelia, God bless her, that's Pickles' wife, she'd be screaming at him, "What did you do with my potatoes?" Because he took all of her
Stole all our
potatoes
potatoes.
all the time, so we could have potatoes for the potato bake. And let me tell you, there is nothing that tastes better than a potato baked in
Baked in
that
a fire,
bark, in that fire.
Wow.
It wrapped them in aluminum foil.
No, we
them
just
in.
throw them in, and then
Yep.
we ate. Then we ate
the
that.
skins
We
and
ate
all,
the
yep.
skins and all black, charred black.
Oh yeah, I did it in the Boy Scouts. Yep.
Oh my God, we used to have, and we'd sing songs.
Really? What? Do you remember any of the songs you sang?
Well, back then, what were the songs? I've been working on the railroad,
Oh, wow.
down in the valley.
My Sweetheart's a Mule in the Mines.
Oh, no, I never heard that one. Down in the Valley was my father's favorite song. My father had a gorgeous
Really?
voice, gorgeous voice. I don't know why he never sang in the church choir,
Wow.
but he had a beautiful voice.
Do you remember when Dearborn Glass came here?
Oh, I sure do, because I was the first secretary over there.
Oh, okay. What year was that?
Sure, 19... Oh, come on. Oh, Bruce. When did I start? I was... What year? We were married in 56. I graduated in 50. So it might have been 1951. Because I have a picture somewhere of the first shipment of glass that left Dearborn Glass.
Wow.
That'd be neat.
We were all standing in the back by the trailer.
Well, you'll have to get that picture
That'd
for
be
us so
neat
we
to
can take a
see,
picture
yeah.
of it.
Definitely.
Oh
to
God!
find
I
that,
just
yeah.
thought about that. Now I haven't I haven't thought about Dearborn glass at all.
Yeah.
But
was the glass, was that gold in the glass real gold, or just a gold paint?
oh, I have no
Some
idea.
people back in over the course of talking to different people said that they used real gold back then in the thing, and I said if that's the case, I'll go melt all that
Yeah. that's a
stuff
lot
down
of
and
gold.
save the gold.
A lot of gold.
But we have a brochure on it. When it came here, they talked about Dearborn glass from Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We-
that's where they were located. And how they came to be located in German, I have no idea.
Oh, that's the blue one.
If you want to hold
Take
that
a
up
picture of
in
that.
front of
Yeah.
the camera.
Let's put that in front of the camera.
that
Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when they started making this type of thing, because when I worked there, it was all implosion plates for the television sets.
That's beautiful. Yeah, they used to make the TV.
And they
too.
were
Yeah,
just starting to make the dishes and the shades for lamps.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, the round ones. They
Yes.
made those. Yeah.
Brown, square.
I wonder if there's some of the ones we have in different places in town that we should make sure they don't throw them away.
I think I have 2 in the basement.
'Cause I think over in the Methodist Church parsonage, the ones that are on the ceiling there, I bet you they came from there.
From
'Cause
there.
They
They
look
could've.
like they were. Because the ones in our house, I think, came from there.
They make glass for TVs. You said over there.
Yeah.
Implosion
Yeah.
plates, because when television first came out,
Yeah.
the plate on the front of the TV screen,
Yeah.
they had to make that so that if something happened that the television exploded,
Yeah.
It would.
the implosion plate kept
Yeah.
all of it within
Yeah,
the
within the
unit
yeah.
rather than scattering all over.
When
Yeah.
did you get your first TV? Do you remember? It was black and white, probably,
Yeah,
right?
mine was an
Mm-hmm.
RCA Victor. I remember.
Actually, it would have been my parents. And, well, it was probably in the early 50s. The early 50s.
Yeah, well, I can remember.
Because my uncle Steve Yurda worked for RCA in Binghamton, New York, and he got my parents their first TV for
I
them.
can remember ours had a reddish colored case, and had 2 knobs on the right and a little thing you fold down to adjust different the vertical and horizontal, and we had the antenna up on the roof, and we can get channel 16 and we can get channel 28, but we couldn't get channel 22. And I remember we could sometimes get channel 12 in Binghamton, but we could never get 22. And the football games, the AFL football games were on channel 16, and the NFC football games were on channel 22. So as a kid, I could never watch the Green Bay Packers or the Chicago Bears or the Detroit Lions play because we could never get on TV. I remember that, and my grandmother had a Black Panther, a glass Black Panther sitting on top of the TV. I can still remember that. I have
Was
it.
that-
I have one in my house.
That
Do
same
you?
one?
Yeah. Well, it's not the same one. I found one at a yard sale or an auction or something. But going back to Dearborn, you remember when you first started? You said that's when they first moved here, and they were making mostly TV stuff then, and they didn't start making this kind of glass until later.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what year that might have been. And you know, it probably was 1950. It was August 19th, 1950, when Dearborn Glass was their first day of production. I think it was the 19th.
They actually took sand and melted it and made the glass right there.
I don't know. I never watched them.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you ever watched them.
I used to walk.
Did they give you discounts on glass and stuff for working there, or did you buy it?
No.
Did you buy it in the stores around
No,
here?
this was given to me by someone that worked in Dearborn Glass years after I left. And he said, I thought you would appreciate this, Lillian. So I have this from then. And this used to come out once a year. This was one of my bread plates at my Christmas Eve dinner every year.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never seen
And
that
I think that's just beautiful.
Yeah, I've never seen that one with the blue glass in it. We have everything we have is just
That is
gold.
nice, real nice.
Mm-hmm.
We have the plates with the eagle in the center and
Oh,
the
really?
gold around the outside, but we don't have anything with the blue.
Blue.
So I'm gonna have to start looking for this now.
That's made for bread, a loaf of bread then?
That's what I assumed it was, a bread plate, and that's what I always used it for. I didn't want to put anything hot in it,
Right, yeah.
although hot probably wouldn't hurt it. But I just, just didn't want it to get damaged. So that was in 1950, and September, I think September 29th was the date our first shipment went out. And oh my God, when I think about it, all of us, we were
worked there
out
that
at
you
the
knew?
truck.
Who else worked there when you were a kid?
Who worked there?
I know my grandfather worked there.
Smollicombe,
James.
James
Small.
Smollicombe,
He worked there I guess that's where he had his heart attack. When I was a kid.
and Rudolph Nolde. Do you remember him?
No.
No. Rudolph Nolde. He lived on Madison Avenue. And let's see, who lived next door to him that worked over there also? Rudolph Nolde, I think, was a machinist.
I'm trying to think of who Tom, was it Tom Perry that worked there or Stevens?
How many shifts did they have? Have a
Um,
night shift too?
I think, did they have a night shift?
I only remember day shift when I
No,
was a kid.
I think just day shift. I think just day shift.
And they'd put their stuff on trains and haul everything out on the
Yes,
trains.
because they had a spur put in,
I remember
Oh,
when it was
really?
there.
Yes.
They had a
Train
little
came right
so the
there.
train came right in.
into the plant.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was B.H. Greenup, Benjamin Harrison Greenup. He was the big honcho here. Wonderful, wonderful man.
Green up.
Greenup, Greenop.
What was his position
He was the boss
of the plant?
of the plant. He came from Chicago. Norman Fullerton came from Chicago. He lived up on Lincoln Avenue, in where Bednashes live. That's who were the first people that lived in that house, Fullertons. Norman Fullerton.
He was a boss too.
He was a boss after Mr. Greenup died, and that's when I left Dearborn Glass. I was pregnant with my second child, and he said to me, Lillian, don't think that you are going to work here until your day of delivery like you did with your first child. They wouldn't dare say that to you now.
No.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, Norman, bye-bye.
So Norman lived in Bednash's house. You remember when those houses were built up there in the Bednash?
Well, that would have been in the early 50s.
Okay, because that's what I am assuming when I'm looking at those houses. They
Yeah.
were 50 era houses.
Mm-hmm.
1950s.
Yeah, that would be in the 1950s. Because I was pregnant with Daria in she was born in 59.
I was going to say it had to be, because Greg would have been.
And
year or
Norman
two away,
Fullerton was working there, but he was not a boss. Because I worked with him. Joe Ridgick worked with us in the office.
Okay.
I don't know, till this day, I don't know what his job was.
Do you remember the Castle Garden?
Oh my God.
Was it usable when you were a kid? People
Yes,
lived in it?
because Helen Gurka, and I don't remember her marriage name, she and her mother were the only two people living in that building when I was a child. And I used to spend a lot of time going through that alleyway to the back because behind the
alley ran this way, didn't it? Say like parallel to Delaware?
no,
No,
it would have been like parallel to Elm Street,
okay,
to
so it ran
Walnut
alongside
Street.
the building.
Yes,
Okay.
and Hosey's house was here. No, Hosey's house is here. Shustak, was it Shustak that lived in this house here, and then the alleyway, and then Casigarda. Well, my friends Helen and Kay Crail, their grandparents lived behind Casigarda. There was a little double family bungalow back there that both sets of grandparents lived in. So we used to spend a lot of time back there and going in and running through the Casigarda.
Yeah. Well, we played there as kids because it was all nothing but, it was all vacated by the time we were. But we used to play army in there and run up and down the steps. And run all the way up to the top and back down.
What was it made out of? Concrete?
Concrete?
Yeah. It was concrete and steel.
Yeah.
Michael Cooch built that.
Is that who built
He
that?
built that to bring the Russian immigrants here to work in the mine.
How many people would fit in there to live?
Oh, there was quite a
Oh,
few.
there were
That
a
was
couple
big building. It was
stories.
4 stories high, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe 3, but I think 4. And there was apartments on both sides, front and back, and stairways going up into them. And then there was a pool room and a store in the basement.
Oh, really?
And Cooch sold the groceries to the people that lived in the house because he spoke Russian and they spoke Russian, and he brought all the Russian immigrants here. I can remember that story being told by I forget, one of the old timers told me that a long time ago. What other stores were over at East German? I mean, Rudolph's, of course. When I was
Rudolph's, Leschak's, and
there. Was Leschak's down by Bottler's
yes, yeah,
on the
up
same street?
higher
He was on Delaware
Yeah,
Street.
up.
on Delaware Street. Yes,
My Aunt Rainey's father-in-law, that would be Kuzma's father.
yes.
Where Red's.
Do you know
was.
do you know which one is Deke's house?
Deke's is where Red's used to
I know
be,
where
isn't
Red's
it?
No.
was. I know
No?
where
No,
Red's.
Red's was next to Deke's.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All
so
right.
Deke's house, and then there was an alleyway, which was part. No, it wasn't part of the alley coming from Hudson Street behind the Casigarda, because I think there was a wall separating it. But let's see.
So you had Bottler's
So we're
on the corner.
Bottler's. You have Levito's house. You have Red Goloszewski's place.
Red's, yeah.
That's still there, I think, that building.
Yeah, Red, that's still there. Yeah.
Actually, what's there is not the original because the original came right to the
Right
sidewalk.
to the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then next to that is Deke's house. Then there's a little alleyway, and then this house right here is where this Leschak's store was. And then next to that was what's her name?
The United States is calling.
Oh,
I get them all the time.
Les Jack store was there. I always wondered where it was
Okay.
at.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I never knew it. We got to document all this because we did Main Street and we're trying to get all the businesses, but I didn't get a chance to do East German yet, and I want to do East German and I want to do a tour. So any
Right.
stores that you know that were over there, I know when you turn at Bottler's and turn to the right there was a store there.
Yes, it would have been across in the Lapata building.
What was it
Lapata.
called?
And it was Lapata that had the store.
That was the name of the store, Lapata's?
Lapata's, yes. George Lapata owned the store, and his sister, Julia Tellup, who lived in the house that was right next to the store, she used to help him in the store.
So that was on the same site as Bottler's.
on the same side as
So it'd be
Butler's.
the next building up.
Up.
There's an empty lot,
Yes.
and then the next one would have been Lapata's.
Yeah. Hmm.
Is Les Jack's store building still there? No, it's still there, or is that torn
There's
down?
building there, but I don't think it's the same store.
It's a
building.
house.
It's a house now.
Yeah, it's a house.
But it's still there.
It's still there. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then Rudolph's were there, and Cooch's bar was
Rudolph's
up
and
farther.
Cooch's. And I understand my grandmother, Katie Yurda, who lived in, well, you have, let's see, this is Walnut Street. You have my husband's homestead on the corner, the 3-story building on the corner of Delaware Street,
Okay.
Delaware and Walnut. And next to it is Lasichak's. Then next to that was where Pickles O'Nufrock lived. And then next to that was a little house that Irene O'Nufrock and George O'Nufrock grew up in. And then next to that is where my Uncle Billy Yurda lived. And my grandmother, in her younger married days, I understand she had a store in the front of that house.
Okay.
What was it called? Do you know?
I do not know, but
Okay.
I
That's a
know
long
I
time
remember
ago.
her
Okay.
talking
No
about
pictures
it.
of
No pictures, no, I don't have any pictures. This was before I was even born,
It
I
was on
think.
Delaware Street, though.
But it was on Delaware Street.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because
Yeah.
that's we're trying to put all this history together for
Yeah.
people to know years and years from now.
Right.
So
And-
we're trying to locate everything that's there. The playground that's over there now, over on East Side, is that wasn't there, was it, when you were?
Now
a kid?
what a
On
playground?
Lackawanna?
If it's on Lackawanna Street.
I think that's new.
There's a playground
There's a
on
playground over
Lackawanna?
there, yeah. Like if
Canner's
you
Hill, they call it
Oh,
Canner's Hill.
oh no, there was nothing there.
playgrounds over there?
No, there was a
Well, that was
little
small, that was
creek
not-
that we used to
yeah.
play in.
That
was
wasn't there when I
was the
small.
playground behind St. Michael's Hall? Was that there when you were a kid, or that
It
come
wasn't.
later?
No, it wasn't a playground. We made it a playground.
Well, there was little rides there when
Yes.
I played softball. There
When I
was
was
there
small,
was
I remember them.
there was
Do
a
you?
yeah there
Well,
was
that
there
was-
was a
that was
slide
after
there.
me.
Merry-go-round.
There was a little merry-go-round and there was a slide and I think a set of swings when I played softball.
When I was 3, I remember going over there.
Oh, you know that might have been there because
That'd be 58.
I'm remembering now when Steve and I got married. His brother was celebrating so much he got skunk drunk. And they found him out on the merry-go-round.
St. Michael's there? Yeah.
So I guess that playground was there, not when I was a child,
Do you remember
but
when
when
the-
I got married.
Do you remember when the hall was built or
1950,
1950? Okay.
yes. And my husband was on the committee when it was dedicated.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. That's something.
And it certainly didn't look the way it looks now.
no.
Oh,
And
really?
it did not finish up the way the original plans were made. My father was very active at the time, and he had the plans. Unfortunately, greed got in the way, and all the plans were changed, and we had a cigar box
Oh, okay.
building put up that was the plans that they had for that building were beautiful.
Oh boy.
Really?
So when the new clique came in and they refurbished that building, they really did it justice when they dressed it up.
Did they play basketball in there?
Yes,
a
they
lot
did.
when it was first built.
Yes, they did. And that was why they put basketball courts in, because Mike Jabinski insisted that they put basketball a court in there because his boys were into basketball and he wanted someplace for his sons to
Okay.
play.
I played there, but I didn't know when they started playing there. But
Was that the Mike that lived right across from it? Right next to my grandparents?
No,
A different, because
no, Jabinski on Hudson Street. You
Oh.
remember Eugene
Spitter.
yeah, the one next to my
Jabinski,
grandparents.
Spitter, yes,
Jabinski,
Spitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, his father. His father was very adamant about making sure that the boys had a place to play basketball.
Do you remember when they played baseball over there? The St. Michael's Vets. Do you remember their team?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because they won some championships. There's trophies in there, in that building, and
Are there?
I'd love to get a hold of some of them and put them in the historical society, but they'll probably never leave there.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, I know my father-in-law played baseball over there, Pete Turpak. He said he remembers hitting the ball out across the road over where pastures live. He
Yes.
said he would hit the ball over to the houses on the other side. And I says, "Oh, I could never do that."
Oh yeah, we were always attending.
Do you remember some of the stores in German that aren't here anymore? And like, do you remember when the when you come over East German? What's the first thing that you remember coming over from East German over here?
Store, remember that?
It'll do store.
Oh, this did. I think it was Art Wilson told us about this. It was up on Lincoln Avenue, all the way at the far end. And I can't remember. I wrote it down on who built the store.
Do you think
But
that'll-
as they were building this, he says, "Does that look level?" And the guy go, "It'll do," and he nailed it up, and then they called it the It'll Do store.
Oh God, I don't remember
who
that at all.
Who it was that had it, but it'll come to me. But when you come over from East German and you come into German, what do you remember?
What do I remember? I remember this long building down where the brewery is.
Where it was a dress factory
No.
at one time, wasn't it?
I in my lifetime it was stores there.
Okay.
Bruce was the last name. He had a barber shop in that building.
Okay.
Was that near Matisse's now, or
Across the
Well,
street.
that would be where Matisse's Dairy
Okay,
was, and now the
the
beer.
distributor.
Okay,
distributor
so
is
that's on that
there.
side of the street. Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking the other side.
Oh,
Okay.
the other side. There was something on that corner where
There's
they
a
have
gas
this,
station.
where they have the new building now.
Yeah, there was a
Is
gas
that what it
station
was?
there.
A
Yeah.
gas station?
I remember the concrete being there but there was no gas station when I
Okay.
was a kid. But
Yeah.
you're talking about this store was over
By
where
Matisse's.
Matisse's is where the beer distributor is now.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was before Matisse's moved in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
All right.
several stores.
Well, I knew that
There
was
were several.
I know that Bruce's had a barber shop down that way, but I didn't know where it was. So
Well, it just about where their the upper end of the building, where they have the overhead doors.
Yeah.
That's just about where his shop was.
okay. And what other stores were in there? Do you remember?
There might have been a candy store in there.
Was it an old building?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because there
And
used
it was-
to be a place called the Forest House. It was a hotel back in the day, and I'm wondering if it's the same building.
Maybe it could be.
You know, back then it was because the bar that was in it in the bottom was called Andy Gavin's
Okay.
before they moved to Scranton.
Scranton, yeah.
Oh.
Andy Gavin's is in
Yeah.
Scranton now.
By the jail.
So in the Forest House was Andy Gavin's bar back in maybe the late 1800s, early 1900s. So now that you're telling me there was a nice old building there,
That may.
was it a one-story?
It was a
two-story?
one-story.
Okay.
One-story.
A big long building.
A big long building.
Yeah, parallel the main road, or to go back
Yeah.
off the parallel.
No, it was set back. It was set back.
Okay. All right. So that's another piece of history that's
Yes.
going to go into the
Yep.
Main Street tour so that we don't have. Okay. And then what else you can remember on that street? Anything on that block? The church was there, of course.
Church
and
was
then-
always there.
Do you remember anything where where the community house used to be? The
Hmm.
old community house. Was there anything next to it in that
Is there a
empty?
That-
cemetery? Somebody said there was a cemetery by those trees there.
No, that's where we put the thing for the centennial in 1970. We put an urn in the ground.
Oh,
There
okay.
used to be two big arborvitae bushes, and in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
it was where the monument was for the first
Right,
aid.
right.
Well, we planted an urn there in
Time
1970, and they can't find it. So I have to go try to see if
Metal
I can
detector.
dig it out and find it. But you don't remember anything else being in that
There-
lot?
As far as I can remember, that was always an empty lot.
Empty as long as I can remember, yeah.
You know what I do remember, and I'm coming farther up Main Street now, next to what used to be the variety store, the bandstand.
Bandstand, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that. It wasn't there when I was a kid, so I don't. It was an empty lot when I was a kid.
Band said, "What did they play?"
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the Crystal Fire Company had it.
Oh,
Is that who
It
I
was the
had
Crystal
it?
Fire Company's bandstand.
I only remember being there, listening to the music.
And that's set back against
Yes,
the bank.
it was way
Yeah.
in the stage was way in the back.
Yeah.
I remembered the old post office.
Where the new one is now.
Where the new
Yeah,
one is
yeah,
now.
yeah. There was a gas station there at one point. a
Oh,
long
really?
time. There was a hardware store in the bottom and a dentist upstairs.
Oh, I remember the dentist.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was also a beauty shop upstairs. Because I went with my mother one time. My mother was getting a permanent, and that's where she went.
You
know
remember
what
the
the
name
name
of
of
the
it was?
people that had it?
I have no idea. And this was when we already lived uptown in Dunn's house. So that would have been. I was trying to figure years out earlier today, in the 1940s somewhere, about 1945, 46.
Okay.
Because I remember I could picture the curling iron machine. It was a rod that came up, and then all these wires coming off of which were for the curls, and they would curl your hair into these things all over your head, and you'd sit there under it, and they'd put the power on to curl your hair.
It was like electrocuting you.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you remember? You must remember when Miller's store came in then. Because
Well, yes, I worked in Miller's
You
store.
worked in Miller's?
Yes, I did.
What do they sell in there?
Everything.
Everything.
Really?
Candy in the front, and when you walked to the back, you could have bought a screw, you could have bought a nail, you could have bought a
All the
hammer.
hardware stuff was in the back.
Yes.
You walked in, you walked around the glass cases and back
Yep.
around and came out. And then the little Matchbox cars were in the glass case. I remember that. Yeah, and we used to get our wiffle balls there and our bats when we were
Yeah.
kids. So how many years did you work there?
A couple.
Was my Aunt Margaret working at Allen's
Yeah.
store next door?
Yes, she was.
Did he ever come in as a customer when you were working there?
I don't remember.
Could have.
I don't
I
remember,
remember. What's her name? That worked there, Sylvia
but yeah,
Johns.
yeah.
Sylvia was
She
there.
just
and-
passed away lately.
Oh, she used to come in our historical society, and we talked to her a couple times.
Yeah.
She was a very nice
She was
person.
nice, yeah. And I
Yeah,
remember
but-
Mrs. Miller in there, and
But your Aunt Margaret, when she worked in Allen's, she was a troublemaker. She's a good soul, though. I always liked her. But we used to plan parties for Christmas between Allen's and the Five and Miller's Five and Dime.
yeah.
And I don't remember now. I think it was Allen's that gave us the gift, and it was Limburger cheese. We almost killed them.
Limburger cheese.
And your Aunt Margaret was the head of that.
Oh, yeah, I never heard that side of her. She was always the quiet one.
No, she could cause mischief.
Do you remember the fire in the Acme when they were in the Acme?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so my grandmother jumped out. My Aunt Margaret jumped off the porch and into the awning, and
Yep.
I think there's pictures of that. In the
yeah, we
book.
have
Yeah.
pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah, she lost her diamond ring in that
How did
fire.
that fire
Oh
start?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Do you know how it started?
No, I don't.
It started in the back of the building upstairs, and they think it was in that in the apartment where the lady in the wheelchair was. But they, I don't know. I don't.
Did she make it out?
No, her and her husband.
Oh,
Her husband. The stairway was full with smoke and fire, and the only way down was the stairway. And he stood with her in the top of the stairway instead of taking her down, because he couldn't get through the flames, and died. The two of them died on the upstairs.
Wow.
The other family in the back on the other corner was the Perry family, and they went out the back porch or back windows and slid down a rope in the
Wow.
back, and then my grandmother, grandfather, Aunt Margaret jumped off the porch in the front. Yeah. So what else do you remember? Stores that are not here
Let
anymore.
me think.
So
Well,
you must
Collins-
remember when Matthias came in then, when they first came, and they were in the 40s, right? When they first came into.
I don't remember exactly when, but my sister Rosalie worked for them, and she used to decorate their windows for Christmas,
Okay.
but nobody ever took any pictures.
No. Yeah, we don't have any pictures of that building at all, except for a newspaper article when they were there. That was it. No pictures of it.
No, because Rosalie used to do a beautiful job of decorating the windows, the drawings that she did.
Did they have Christmas lights, or was it just drawings?
It was just drawings. Back then,
Yeah,
you know,
they didn't have
they
their
didn't
light,
think
yeah.
about lights
Yeah.
in windows like they do now.
So when you're coming up Main Street, what other stores do you remember that are no longer here?
Well, you have another ice cream store up the other end of town. Was across from the bank.
Across from the bank? Okay.
Yes, just about where Wayne's Diner is.
Okay.
That's where it was. There was an ice cream shop there.
Was that Snyder's Ice Cream?
I don't remember the name of it.
Okay, because there was another ice cream store on the side of the bank. There was an ice cream shop there on the same side as the bank, just down from it, and that was Snyder's, I think. And there was another one, Ellsby's was an ice cream place, and then there was the Collins's ice cream place.
Yep. And we used to go to Collins's every Sunday also for Sunday.
Okay. Were the two sisters there then, or just
Oh
Grace?
yeah,
Oh,
no,
the
the two sisters. But
I
Grace was the one that did everything.
I only remember Grace. I remember going in there as a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to see Ellsby's and Ellsby's store, Nelson and Myrtle Ellsby. They were old when I was a kid, and Grace was old when I was a kid, and they were all old when I was a kid.
Yeah, Mrs. Ellsby had a pool in the backyard. I used to stand on the fence because we lived in the house next to it, and I used to stand on the fence and watch the bullfrogs.
Huh. Wow.
Was it a pond?
It was a pond.
Okay.
But that was one of Mrs. Ellsby's favorite things there in her yard.
A pond. Is that on that map, Bruce? Those ponds you were showing us?
No, this was probably like a cement pond. That
Yeah.
they made, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there were ponds in town back in the 1800s. There was one where Longworth's restaurant is,
Oh,
and there was one up on Jefferson Avenue by Jefferson and Franklin. And the water used to go down and then into the pond on Main Street, and then from there go through next to Debbie's flower shop. It went down into the river.
oh.
But that was on the old 1800s maps.
I'm trying to think what else.
Car dealerships. Do you remember any of the Ford?
No, the
dealership?
Ford dealership would have been long before that.
Really? No.
That's older.
No,
That was,
I don't
there was
remember.
one right where the Methodist Church parking lot is.
Oh, okay.
That used to be an A&P store at one time.
I only remember the Acme. what kind of stores were where the convenient mark is?
There was
Because there was somebody, was it Betty Taylor's family
I remember that
that
building.
had a store there?
there was I know the guy that he was either tailor shop or a shoemaker that was on Franklin Street side in the back, because I used to get my papers there. But in the front, there was an AMP store, banner store at one time on the corner.
Yeah, I see
It
how.
came all the way out to the sidewalk.
Okay.
And then there was a store next to it in the same area. Because I remember tearing the building down, but I don't remember. I know next to it was used to be Avery's Flower Shop back in the day.
Oh, really?
In the 40s. And then he moved up to where he is now. But next to that was, in where Avery's was when I was a kid, was a bakery there, Brandon's Bakery.
Yes, I remember that.
And the son, Arndt, I think his name was, had a printing place upstairs.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But when I tore down the building, I found a whole bunch of medicine bottles in the basement.
You have them now?
I have one. I still have one. It's sealed in glass. It's a glass bottle with a glass topper, and it's still sealed. Whatever's in it's still in it. And it's hermetically sealed. It's never been opened. I have it. I got that when I was tearing that building down, so I'm trying to think if there was a drug store in that building, or if it was maybe stuff from the old printing press back in the day. But I don't
Pictures in
know.
that building either, right?
I don't remember.
I don't remember it, but
Yeah. But I remember the variety store, and I remember Allen's store.
Joe Calanducio's tailor shop.
Tailor shop was where the variety store was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
who
Dick
sold hot
Muleheisen
wings there? There was a place sold hot wings on that side of the street.
No.
What was the name of that place?
The only hot wings place was the Windsor. That was
No, there was another place there.
nobody ever sold wings before the Windsor came here.
Petrokovich took me over there. John Petrick, he said, "I'll buy if you eat them, the hottest ones." I had 24
Well,
of them.
that went across the street, or where Earl's was.
Earl's, that's it.
That was
Yeah,
across the
Earl's.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Earl's.
That was long after the Windsor came with wings.
Yeah.
That used to be St. George's Hotel.
Oh, really?
It was Phillips's bar before Earl's. 'Cause
Right,
Phillips's
and I
had it,
remember
and it
that.
was Snuffy's
Snuffy's was before that.
and then before that it was the St. George Hotel. It
Oh.
was built by Louis Pizer in 1866. It was the first hotel in German, other than the one he built before that, which we can't find. It said it was one block west of that, which would put it on Madison Avenue.
Mm.
And I don't ever remember hearing anybody tell any stories about a hotel being on Madison Avenue. So that we can't find that. That's a piece of history we've probably lost forever. But
Yeah.
well, is there anything else you would like to tell us that we haven't got into? Because I'm running out of questions. I think we hit the family, we hit the stores, we
Yeah.
hit the school. Do you remember any exciting events that happened in town? Big parades or
fires or mine accidents.
anything from the mines from over
No.
there, or any train accidents, or
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we lived in Lasichaks, the siren blew for the mines, and everybody gathered out on the street because we knew it was an accident in the mines. But that's all I remember about it.
You heard it a lot?
No,
were
No.
there ambulances back then? And
no.
I don't remember ambulances.
John Vanish was hurt, and then he died a week later in 1930, I think. They had Dearborn Glass. They went in the mines. They were off for a month. They went back in, and
Yeah.
it collapsed.
Anything more about Dearborn, or anything more about anything else in town? School? You remember anything that went on in school over there? Any of the teachers you had, or anything exciting happened while you were in school?
No, it was just normal education.
Do you remember Fowler's Field? Did you remember them playing ball up there?
I remember it. I didn't spend time up there. Now my children did.
Yeah.
They would tell you a lot about Fowler's Field. but I never went up there.
Zashansky's field down by the Artesian. Was that Zashansky's?
I remember them talking about a farm down there years and years ago,
Yeah.
and they had cows and
My
stuff.
Oh,
father used to
really?
take the cars
Where the
down
Artesians.
there, and the neighbor's cows and his. At the end of the day, take them back.
Yeah, I remember that.
Zashansky's
I remember.
field, they call it.
Yeah, but I don't remember any other fields. I just remember St. Michael's and Crawford's Field, and Fowler's was already done. Nobody played any games there when I was a kid. I was there, but nobody played there. I mean, we'd run up around there and play Army up there and stuff, but as kids, but there was no baseball games or anything. Do you remember any of the fancy houses that are no longer here, that maybe, or the big name families that lived here, or anything? Is there anything else you can? The Crawford family, they lived over on Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Faris family. They had the Farises lumber, like mill and grain before Friedman's
Oh,
came there.
really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jewelry stores, and
Yeah,
Danny, the
first
jewelry is
cars.
the only one I know.
When did you get your first car?
When did I get my
Yeah.
first car?
Yeah.
When I got married.
What was it? What year and
Was-
what kind?
It was a Ford,
Hmm.
and it was a little car with with the trunk in the back. The seat,
Really?
seat in the back.
A standard shift?
Standard shift. That's what Steve and I drove to Wisconsin on our honeymoon.
Really? Wow. Did you get any flats on it? Flat tires? Or?
Not really.
Really? Huh?
No, it served us well.
Wow.
It really
How
did.
much was gas back then?
Oh my God, I don't
Probably
remember.
a quarter again.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, anything else that you can think of? I'm looking at that picture.
Which one now?
The picture, not the picture, but the
Oh, the
picture.
picture.
That looks like the same kind of glass that would have came out of the old glass factory that used to be down by the O&W Railroad.
Not Dearborn, the other one. Right?
It was called the Laurel Cut Glass Company.
Oh, this one on the left?
The
Is
one,
that the one you're talking about?
The big tall one here.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that's what it is or not. But that looks like the kind of glass that would have came out of there. And
This one you're talking about?
yeah,
I don't even know where I got this, but I bought this someplace.
oh, okay.
This one was a gift to my Aunt Anna and her husband when they were married in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And it was given to them in Hawaii. Oh my God, it's stuck in the bottom.
Okay.
Oh, my grandmother gave it to her. That's what it was.
Wow.
So wherever
So
my
that's the whole
grandmother
thing.
got it,
Yes.
yes.
Wow.
That would have been in about 1943, 44, something like that,
Oh,
when she
beautiful.
got married.
Well, that's all the questions I have, unless something
Yeah,
comes up that you
I
wanna.
can't think of anything, Bruce.
Has German changed a lot?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, it's changed since I was
Oh
a
my
kid.
God, it's a totally different town.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Wow. How many people from your class are still alive?
How many? Probably about 3 of us.
Really?
Yeah, we had a class of 34, 17 boys and 17 girls.
Wow.
Yeah,
And what year did you graduate?
1950.
50.
1950.
My parents got married in 51.
I was born in 53, so you're about 20 years older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
87?
8, I'll be
88?
89 in March.
80, okay. Yep.
I was just 88. The big and I remember when Steve was 88. I kept repeating to him, "You're the double eights this year. You're the double eights this year." Well, now I'm saying it to myself.
Yeah. Anything else over East German that we don't have anymore that used to be there you can think of?
Was there any cold breakers over?
Yeah,
East Germany?
she talked about the one. Yeah,
The one-
Yeah,
yeah. There was two at one time, but
Yeah, yeah.
probably you can
I
only
don't-
remember one.
only one.
No more stores. No more. I mean,
No, the
bottlers
only
and
other
stuff.
store, when you were mentioning before, and you said jewelry stores, there was a jewelry store in German.
Was it Forstner's?
No. Well, Fortuner's, yeah. That Fortuner's was it a jewelry store?
Because there was a jewelry store and they sold urns and concrete stuff for your yard and things. It was across the street from Danny the Jeweler.
Yes.
Over.
Yeah.
Where Barbara Slavinsky lives
Yeah, I
now.
remember Danny the jeweler. My father took me up there. He was a friend of his. Wow, I haven't
Yeah.
heard that name in a long time.
But this jewelry store was in the Muldoon building or the building next to it. And I know it was when we lived uptown, and it was a Russian couple, and I can't remember the name now who they were. But I know she had a jewelry store there.
Okay, well that's something we don't have because I know Forstner's had one down closer to Debbie. Down at, like across from, it would be where Jack Stevens had his TV store.
Right.
It would be across from
From
there,
there.
where Barbara Slavinsky lives now.
Mm.
That would be next to the bandstand on the
Right.
other side.
Right.
Okay,
Do you remember
well,
when the man tied dynamite around himself and blew himself up? And Dick Muehlheisen told us that.
up there where the mine was up on going out of town.
Oh, really?
When those buildings were up there, he said his father told him. So that would have been, she wouldn't have been around.
Okay.
His father told him about it.
Mm.
Because his father was the police chief and had to go up there when it happened. Well, that's about all I have
Yeah.
to questions. I mean,
Very
I don't know if there's
interesting, though.
anything else. I mean, we got a lot of new stuff out of you, so
We
that's
got an hour
good.
and a
And
half worth of film here.
what we'll do is we'll make a copy of this and we'll give you a copy.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so
thank
you'll have
you.
a copy
You have
of
a
it.
DVD player, right? You can play, yeah.
You can play it and plug it in, and you know, if there's anything else you think of or anything you find that's got pictures, like Dale's going to take some pictures of these pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we'll do that so we have them, and then you know, if you think of anything else, do you remember the Windsor Inn? Before, who were the owners of it? Do you remember people that owned it before? Like I know Wayne Morotska's father owned it,
Right.
and Keith Morcom owned it, but I don't remember who owned it before
Before
Morotska.
that. Mm-mm.
Because it was called the Bluebird Restaurant at one time.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Mrs. Arnold.
Would he
Or
own
Arndt?
it now?
No.
No. A guy
He did
from
though, right?
a guy from Peckville owns it now, Dan Cardell, and then he bought it from the Whittiaks, and the Whittiaks bought it from Keith Morcom, I think, and Keith
Related to
Morcom
him.
bought
If
it
you're,
from
we're probably cousins somewhere.
Keith Morcom bought it from Joe Morotska, but I don't know who had it from before Joe Morotska. I think there was a name Bellis that owned it, but I don't remember if that was the last one before Morotska's or if there was one more in between.
Yeah.
That's the only missing part of the puzzle, when Morotska bought it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that's all I remember
'Cause I
from
remember
him.
Morotska's made it into a restaurant on the one side. It wasn't a restaurant until he put that restaurant, because he put that door in the front on Main Street.
Oh, okay.
I remember when they put that in there, because
Do you
you could come in that side and just come into the restaurant part.
Any Civil War veterans? My father remembered two, I think he told me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was born in 23. What year were you born?
33.
Okay, 10 years younger.
So
than
10
me.
years.
He remembered two, I think he said in town.
Well, there was
Will
6
Hosey.
or
Do you remember
7.
Will Hosey?
There were 6 or
Well,
7.
I knew the Hosies,
Will
yeah.
Hosey died, I think, in the 40s, 41, I think. He used to deliver the goods up to Edgerton.
Okay. Well, Hosey's are the ones that
Will
started over that
Oh,
East Germany.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
and Edgerton
was
is
started by Hosey's, yeah.
But you walked up there, Pepper loved it. He was up
Yeah.
there all his life. But,
the building that Pepper, wrote about in his book.
yes.
That was my husband's grandfather. Shafran.
Yes. I remember him saying that.
Okay.
He showed me where he's buried in St. Michael's Cemetery.
Yeah,
up there.
Shafran Shust.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Over at Edgerton.
Do you have any other pictures of that building? Or?
No, only what Pepper had given us.
Okay, yeah.
No.
And Anna Yurda Busby is
Is-
your relative. She was in the Navy and
She was an army
Army
nurse.
and,
And she was
in
in
World War II.
She was in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
Wow.
she wrote
When
a
it was
book. She has
bombed.
I have her book.
Really, I'd like to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
That Shafran Shust, do you have any pictures of him?
No.
Mm.
No,
I've mentioned him a lot.
Steve never had anything.
Wow.
Oh, that's all we've got. If that's
Yeah.
everything.
Thank you from the Historical Society that we
Yeah,
have. Let's
thank
see,
you
an
very
hour
much, and we'll
35 minutes.
we'll make a copy of this, and we'll get you a
Okay, thank
copy,
you.
and then we'll
Yeah.
always have one in our files.
And if I think of anything that I might have missed,
yeah, if you find any old pictures,
Yeah.
just lay them out, and he can come over and just take pictures of them, and then we'll
Take
document
those
what they
pictures
are.
right now with my phone. I'll scan them, and thank you very much.